Okay, so when it comes to estate planning, there's always that first big question that everyone has. Where do I even start? Well, today we're going to break down your two main options.
Yeah, this is the big one, right? It's the classic showdown, the old school expert way versus the new do it yourself on your laptop way. And believe me, it's a super important decision.
And here's the absolute most important thing to get your head around. There is no single right answer for everybody. It all comes down to your life and how many moving parts you have. All right, let's dive into path number one, the one that has just exploded in popularity over the last few years, the do it yourself route. So these days, you've got a ton of online platforms where you can make your own estate planning documents. You've probably seen ads for some of them, like LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer. There are also some really popular newer players like Trust and Will, and even ones that are totally free, like FreeWill. And this right here gets to the number one reason people put off estate planning. They think it's going to cost a fortune. But some of these platforms have totally removed that barrier. I mean, a service like FreeWill literally lets you create documents for free. That is a total game changer for so many people. So let's just quickly run through the big pros of the DIY path. First one's a no-brainer. It is way more affordable. Some are low cost, and like we just said, some are completely free. Second, you can't beat the convenience. You can do this from your kitchen table, at midnight, in your pajamas. You don't have to schedule a single appointment or take any time off work. And third, it's fast. I mean, for your basic documents, you can get the whole thing done pretty darn quick. It's all about getting something in place efficiently. So, who is this really designed for? Well, think of it this way. The ideal person has a pretty straightforward life. We're talking no super complex assets, not a blended family, and no big messy family drama on the horizon. For that person, a DIY option can be a fantastic way to get started. Because remember, having something is almost always better than having nothing at all. But, and this is a really, really big but, the DIY path is not perfect. And this is where you gotta be super honest with yourself about your own situation. You know, I want to share something I've seen firsthand as a notary. I meet people at the very end of this whole process. When they're signing the papers, they just print it off the internet. And sometimes you just get this feeling. You can tell something is a little off. They're confused, they have these last-minute questions, they're not even 100% sure what they've just created. And by that point, it's kind of too late. And that experience just perfectly shows the limits of an automated system, right? It's all on you to answer every single question perfectly. The software doesn't know your whole story, it can't pick up on the little details, and it definitely can't lean in and ask that all-important question, hey, wait a minute, have you thought about this other thing? And that's where tiny mistakes can turn into huge problems down the road, like a will getting thrown out by a judge, or even accidentally cutting a loved one out of your inheritance because of some tricky wording. Which, of course, brings us to path number two, hiring an actual attorney. This is the traditional way, and yep, it's definitely a bigger financial investment. But here's what you're really paying for. It is so much more than a stack of paper. You are investing in expert guidance, in a plan that is completely customized to your life, and maybe most importantly, in professional issue spotting, having someone with a trained eye who can see problems you would never even think of. So when should you really think about calling a lawyer? Well, this slide is basically your checklist. If you have kids, if you own property, if you have a business, if you've got a blended family, or if you're going through a big life change like a divorce, any one of these things adds a layer of complexity where a pro can make all the difference. Okay, so we've looked at both options. How in the world do you actually choose your starting point? Let's just put it all side by side. Here you go. This lays out the trade-offs nice and clear. DIY is affordable and fast, which is great for simple situations. An attorney costs more and takes more time, but they're way more thorough, which is what you need for complex situations. But you know what? There's a really smart middle ground here that a lot of people take. It is totally okay to start with a DIY option right now, especially a free one, just to get something basic in place. Then later on, as your life changes, you buy a house, have a kid, start that business, that's when you upgrade to a full-blown plan with an attorney. Because at the end of the day, this whole thing isn't about finding the single best option in the world. It is about choosing the option that actually fits your life, where you are right now. So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. Now that you've seen the whole landscape and you get the trade-offs, what starting point really makes the most sense for you? And hey, one last thing. Just a quick reminder that this explainer is just for informational purposes. It is not legal advice. When you're ready to make a decision, it's always a good idea to chat with a qualified professional about your own situation. Thanks for tuning in.